I thought that if we speak about Startup Nation and the way we did from Startup Nation to what was called the Impact Nation, I would better speak about a different issue, not space, but cybersecurity, because I had the honor to submit to the government some 11 years ago a plan how to make Israel one of the top 5 countries in the world in cybersecurity, which exceeded my dreams. But I was asked to speak about space, and space it will be. It's not so easy to speak about space because people usually are not aware that they are using space applications every day, more than once a day. I mean, you use GPS, you use Waze in Israel, or any other navigation system. You hear to broadcast coming from the US. It goes through communication satellites. You, in the morning, you hear welcome. You hear the weather forecast. It's based on meteorological satellites, and people are doing it without being aware that they are using space assets. It looks as very natural to them. I mean, you push the button and the car tells you go right, go left. Without those 3 satellites simultaneously in space, you cannot do it. Israel, like many other countries in the world, started its occupation with space because of security doctrine, but in a paradoxical way, not for using it for war, but for peace. I mean, the first time we realized we need satellites was after we signed the peace agreement with Egypt. And before that, I mean, one of the cornerstones of the peace agreement with Egypt was the demilitarization of the Sinai Peninsula, okay? And we wanted to verify that the Egyptians are keeping their part in the agreement, not employing forces in Sinai. How do you do it? Before we had peace, we could send reconnaissance aircraft, take photograph, and verify it. Once you have a peace, sending your aircraft to the other side of the border is something which is not done. So the same prime minister who signed the peace agreement in 81 with Egypt, Menachem Begin, he decided that Israel needs satellites for this, for keeping peace. And then we found ourselves, we have an asset. I mean, we started with reconnaissance satellites, but we continued to communication satellites, which were small at the beginning and bigger. You can see, you cannot see. Perhaps I have to push again. Okay, you can see here, you can see the people standing in front of one of the communication satellites, the Amos family. And at the end of the day, we found ourselves with a huge problem. This is a little bit of physics, but you know that Earth is rotating from west to east. And if you want to launch a satellite, you better launch it with the rotation of Earth. You get some speed from the rotation of Earth. But Israel cannot launch eastward, neither to the south nor to the north, because the stages of the missile, the launcher that carries the satellite, will fall upon our neighbors. Cannot be done. The only way we can launch is westward into the Mediterranean, which means not physically so logical, okay? We lose a lot of speed because we launch it to the other side. And then this problem has to be solved. Now, you cannot say, okay, because of this reason, I will make my telescope, for example, to verify those Egyptian employments that I spoke about. I will build a small telescope. Cannot be done. Telescope has some physical size that should be, that the physical size determines the resolution of the telescope. You cannot make it smaller. You can make it lighter. And therefore, from 40 years ago, when it was established, the main issue of Israel in space was to make things lighter and lighter. Even the screws in the satellites are hollow. You gain 1 gram, less than 1 gram per screw. But if you have 10,000 screws like this, you may gain 10 kilograms, which is not so bad at all. And this is not no? And then we found ourselves in a very small group of fully independent in space. When I say fully independent, I mean launching as well as building the satellites. A group of less than 10 countries until today. We were number 7, I think. And there are some, out of the 200 countries in the world, there are more than 100 that have satellites. They buy it from these 10 countries that I mentioned. If you look on Israeli components in space, you may find it in something like more than 100 satellites launched by everyone. I'll give you two examples maybe. This is one, 2 days ago, we celebrated the anniversary of Curiosity rover, American NASA Curiosity rover on Mars. This is a rover that is going on Mars, picking some rocks from Mars, putting it inside, and then analyze the ingredients of these rocks by what we call spectrometer. It's a lightning with a very strong light, and then analyzing the spectrum emitted. For doing this, you need a very small, lightweight spectrometer, and you may not know it, but the one that is now 10 years still moving on Mars, the spectrometer was built by, someone said that he is from a kibbutz, by Kibbutz Ein Harod, a factory in Israel, and it's still alive for 10 years now. A second example may be this, a satellite we did with French space agency. They came to us and said, you have this capability of building very light satellites. We are interested in, so let's cooperate, and we decided to build together with the French space agency a satellite that will orbit around Earth, look on Earth for keeping the environment. Detecting pollutions in water, later on also in air, helping agriculture, and things like this. Okay? We divided the work between us. We, Israeli Space Agency, managed and financed the satellite by itself, the bus, what we call, and the French had to supply the camera because their company then were much better in this technology. They were better in this technology, but the cameras they could build were too heavy. So the French Space Agency had no other option but to issue we already had signed a contract to issue an international bid, and the company which won the bid was an Israeli one. So the whole satellite was built in Israel. Half of it was financed and managed by Israeli Space Agency, and the other half, which was also in Israel, was financed and managed by the French Space Agency. You can see here a few things. It can detect fires around the world. This is a very strange thing, This is Haifa, and we wanted to look at the pollution of water near Haifa, but if you see, this is the Carmel Mountain there, you see the red colors there is moving of wild animals between the trees on the Carmel Mountain, which gave certain faculties at universities a lot of data because there is now a growing problem of wild pigs and things like this, boars wandering there. Unexpected, but can be done by this. Now we come to nanosatellites. I mean, in parallel to what was happening in Israel, in the whole world, technology became much smaller, cheaper, space technology, much smaller, cheaper, etc. This is what we call new space. It's a general global trend, not Israeli, but we were one of the first to understand it, and we were the first one in the world to launch a nanosatellite. We call it nano, it's not nanometer, it's 10 by 10 by 10. One cube is 10 by 10 by 10 centimeters, and a satellite can be built from 1 up to 12 cubes, like this. This type of satellites we call nanosatellites. We were the first one in the world to build and launch a nanosatellite by high school. I'm not speaking about universities, I'm not speaking about space agency, but high school. Today we have, by the way, in Israel, every year we have 8 nanosatellites built by 8 groups. Each group has 2 to 3 high schools all over the country. And this is budgeted by the space agency, but the rest of the work is done by high school kids because we believe this is one of the best ways to attract a young generation, which is, of course, the future, towards science. I mean, we even made a research, and we found that 3 things that are attracting kids at age 12 are space, robots, which nowadays we call artificial intelligence, and don't ask me why, dinosaurs. Don't ask me why, but this came out of the research. And of course, there are more serious nanosatellites like this one of Space Pharma. And the last thing that I will talk about is the Bereshit. It is continuation of this trend. Bereshit is a satellite that was launched some 2-3 years ago, 3 years ago already, to land on the moon. What is interesting in this project is that it was not done by Israeli Space Agency. It was not done by the government at all. It was a private entrepreneurship. 3 kids, I call them, they are 30 years old. In my age, I call them kids, came to my office and said, we have an idea, and we are going to build something that will land on the moon. No one could stop them. We are speaking here about entrepreneurship. And they found even the right people to finance it because it's not an investment. It's more, people that were convinced that this will contribute to encouraging young generations towards to take more seriously space and science. And as you know, I'm the chairman of this. These are the kids, and I'm the chairman of Space.il. And I can tell you that we supported it only because of the kids, and that because of the same reason, it's the educational goal, we decided to go and launch another one, which is now under construction, basically because we want the basic message to go to a younger generation, and this is, I could add this to the conversation we heard before. Failure is not a reason to stop. Failure is, you failed or partially failed, you have to understand why, correct it, and go and try again based on the lessons you learned from the previous round. Thank you very much.